It was the dawn of the streaming age. 4 friends, bound by a shared love of stories, embark on a journey to a legendary space station. 2 veterans of the ancient television wars, revisiting a familiar battlefield. 2 newcomers, eager to explore its mysteries and unravel its secrets. Their mission? To boldly go where many have gone before. This is the story of Babble On. The year is 2025. The place, wherever you get your podcasts.
Welcome to the Zocalo.
Welcome to, I love that. Welcome to the Zocalo.
What is the Zocalo?
Welcome back
I forgot.
It's the 10 forward.
It's the bar. All right.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not quite the 10 forward, because the 10 forward we decided is the fancy restaurant.
The restaurant, right.
The Zocalo's, like the marketplace?
Yeah, like the big place where everybody mingles and
it's the promenade.
talks. Yeah,
the promenade. That's it. Yes, that's what it is.
Right, sure.
Good, perfect. Yeah, the promenade. Yeah. So, all that to say, welcome back to Babylon.
Yeah.
We are Babylon, the podcast. I'm Jenny. I have watched Babylon 5 through multiple times, and I love it.
I am Jen. I am a screenwriter. I have watched it through most of it once a very long time ago, and I am enjoying this revisit.
I'm Gus. I'm an actor. This is my first time through it. Not with me today is Allie, who is my wife, who is a screenwriter, who had to work, and we'll be back.
The episode we just watched is Parliament of Dreams, and it occurred to me, I might have to actually describe the episode, because not everybody who listens to the podcast is going to watch the episode with us.
Right.
So, yeah. So this is an episode from season 1. This is season 1, episode 5. Basically, it's a big religion show and tell on the space station, and also an ex comes up, returns, Catherine, Sinclair's ex, and somebody tries to kill Zocalo. And that's what happened in this episode. Yep. It was written, I will say, by J. Michael Straczynski. It was directed by Jim Johnson, but the co-producer was Richard Compton, who I believe directed previous episodes. Yeah. Thoughts on what you just watched? I know, Gus, you were confused?
No, not really. I mean, I was confused in that it didn't necessarily go where I thought it was going, but then I was saying that, as I was saying that, I realized, we're 5 episodes in now. I think he's starting to do the thing where he's no longer tying things up in a single episode. It seems as though, because I'm expecting still, like the feeling I get from this is still Star Trek Next Generation, Star Trek Deep Space Nine, where multi-episode arcs were quite rare, and I know that multi-episode arcs is what this is. This whole show is one big long arc. But so far, and I think the way you put it was he kind of had to trick the network. So far, most of the episodes have been pretty self-contained. Like, stuff has been introduced within an episode, but you get the whole story within an episode. Whereas, we get Catherine showing up, who we've never seen before, who I assume is that I forgot the actress, the character's name, not Karen. Carolyn. I assume that Carolyn didn't want to come back, and so they created a new character in lieu of Carolyn. Because it kind of seems like she's filling a similar role to what Carolyn's was, which is kind of like on again, off again relationship person for Sinclair. She's just here now. And like, I kind of thought that something would be resolved with that. I thought it was going to be one of those things that was going to tie thematically into like previous relationships, like with Jakar's whole thing is like, here's my history. Here's how my history is coming back at me. And I thought Sinclair's was also going to be that, but it's like, no, here's my history. Here's my history coming back to me. And maybe I can do it better this time, which I like. I'm not upset about it. I was just watching it going, okay, everything is very, fine and good, and I'm not expecting this in my climax of the episode. They didn't really have a ton of conflict. It was very much like, hey, we see each other again, we're gonna talk about our history, go on a date, sleep together, and now we're good. And you know what? That's great. I'm not mad about it. I'm excited to see where that goes going forward. It's just not the kind of thing I expected to see it introduced in episode 5.
Right.
Right. Again, as I've mentioned before, JMS talks a lot on the internet. And one of the things he said about this episode is he based, he wrote basically the backstory of Catherine and Sinclair as obviously based on his own relationships to the point where he said he was not able to sit in on rehearsal because it was too hard for him to watch.
Oh, he said he didn't even go to set. He didn't even go to set when they filmed these scenes because he was he was like, it just made my heart like drop to my feet because it was literally writing word for word the conversations he had with someone in the past.
Yeah.
That's very
Which is
personal.
Interesting because it's a very cathartic thing to do as a writer, and I have done that as well, but not really meant it to be produced.
Right. Yeah. Usually you don't, I feel like.
I've literally written word for word, and I'm like, if this actually got made, the people who said these things would be like, I'm pretty sure that I said those actual words because they're very specific. So
Yeah.
I mean, good. It just different, from a lot of the other ones. The Jakar plot, I miss the girl who threw the guy across the room, but I like the new woman, Natoth.
Yeah.
Natoth.
Is cool. Between Natoth and the fucking Minbari, whose name we heard 11 times that I've mentioned, forgot.
Lanier.
Lanier. I thought Lenore, and I was like, that's not it.
No, that's not it.
Lanier.
But I just thought it was funny. Like, I looked at Jen's face because we were literally doing the exact same thing when he showed up. Both of us, our smiles just grew. So I was like, Lanier.
I like him. The
He's
one and a
so
half
sweet.
scenes he got. He's cool.
Yeah.
Lanier, Natoth, and the unbelievably fucking goofy guy with
who Londo's buddy?
Veer.
Oh my gosh.
Veer.
Yeah.
Lanier. So we got the main three diplomats. Then we got the three diplomatic attaché people. They're great. The I almost said Nevron. The Vorlon. Yeah, I don't know.
Nevron
has no religion and has no attaché.
He's just a gas ball. He's just chilling.
He's just a ball of light.
Yeah.
He'll show up sometimes.
He is the religion. Remember, it was like if you see him, it's like seeing God. So he doesn't need to talk about their. He's like basically he would have just shown up and been like flashed everybody by like opening up his coat, and everyone would have seen God.
Sinclair and Delenn maybe got married by accident,
right?
Yeah,
or something.
A little accident.
Like,
well, I mean, if it was an accident, it was an accident on Sinclair's part because Delenn would know.
Hostile marriage.
Delenn knew what he was doing.
Yeah,
yes.
like a.
She was like, she said after that, she said, and so it begins right after. Yeah.
I mean, listen, 5 episodes ago, Allie said there's chemistry between them. She wasn't wrong. Watching her eat that berry in a ridiculously loaded way.
It was, what that reminded me of? I don't know of how many, we're nerds here. We've all seen Firefly.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Kaylee eating the strawberry.
Yeah,
That's what that reminded me of. Yeah.
But it was funny too because it was like the what was funny for me was the conversation from like that came from the person who wasn't at the ceremony, who was like, wait, did you say a red fruit? And I was like, Delenn gave them to everybody. And she was like, taste it to everybody. But then she was especially taste it to him, obviously. And he was like, yeah. And then she's like, and was there eye contact? And I was like, but I love that this marriage ceremony, like you can give berries to anybody you want, but like basically you're like,
but you have to,
you gotta like, I to really have it be, Yeah.
Otherwise, it's just a handshake, I guess.
And also, that she didn't say, "Were you the one making eye contact?" Because this all came from Catherine, and Catherine, she didn't be like,
"Yep,
did you just get married?" She was like, "Was there eye contact?" And like, didn't ask if it was him, because why would he notice anybody else having massive eye contact if he wasn't in the eye contact?
Yeah.
I mean, Delenn was pretty explicit about the eye contact. So I feel like if she walked up to Jakar and been like, "Taste it," then. It would have been like, wow, she really just staring into that guy's face.
Okay, Gus, your Delenn is so perfect. I literally thought that you like had her in your sound bar. And could we please get a taste it in the sound bar for?
I'll put it together. He's gonna soften your what are they called? Dental fricatives? I don't remember.
Yeah.
Taste it.
Taste it. It was really good, and you hit the exact right level. Oh my god!
Her accent is just her accent.
Oh, that's just what she sounds like. That's so cool.
Yeah.
I love her voice.
She is, I believe.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean,
Me too.
I think she's Croatian.
I think that's right.
And that like you'll notice that same thing happens with the Centauri. Like Londo has his amazing accent, and Veer does not.
Is that the actual actor's voice?
No,
Londo?
I think Londo's putting that on.
Oh God,
Londo's putting on an accent. Yeah. No. Londo made up like that actor.
Okay.
Peter Jurassic is his name. He just made up an accent for.
Well, now I feel bad
Londo.
because I was talking about her accent. I said she has that, and I didn't mean it like whatever the fuck this is.
No. I know what you mean. Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
What you mean. But that is just it is just her accent. Like that is. Yeah.
She had a beautiful
It is
voice.
the Delenn.
Yeah.
But yeah, when Lennar came in, I was like, wait a minute. I like that every species except humanity has one religion, but they have multiple different accents. So we got that.
They don't all have one religion. I will say that just because JMS did answer this question at the time, it's not there. Like for example, the Narn have at least two because the Toth and he answered this question at the time. Again, I don't think it's a spoiler, but Natoth and Jakar, for example, don't have the same religion.
Cool.
So
did we see a Narn religious ceremony? We saw so we saw Centauri and we saw Minbari.
Minbari.
We didn't see.
We didn't see Narn.
Interesting.
No.
I wonder why.
The other thing to know, because you both brought up the glasses. I don't know if you saw this in his notes, Jen, but one of the things he tried to figure out how to work into the script, but he couldn't get it to work. I think he just ended up getting cut every single time. Was he wanted it to be a thing in Narn culture that any sort of flaw was seen as a weakness. So the reason that glasses don't fit them is that they don't make glasses for Narn.
Oh, that's
like they have to get glasses from outside of their species.
Okay, I read most of it, but I did not read that, and I love that because it was so. I was like, okay, I know times are cheap back then, but like you couldn't like put extenders on the glasses to make them fit. Oh my god, I love that! I really wish they explored that or made that a little bit more. I mean, obviously that's what he was going for, but it's a really fun flavor. I love that in the world building. Yeah. That's great.
Yeah, he just couldn't get it. Like I guess he couldn't get it to work naturally in the script. I don't know the exact. I can't remember exactly how he worded it, but yeah.
But I don't mind actually. I don't mind that it's. I mean, I don't mind that that's a little behind the scenes thing that we can learn or not learn. I mean, I think that moments like that you can demonstrate, even if you don't talk about them, I think just builds a lot and gives a lot. I think it's really fun.
It's world building.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we had obviously like an A and a B plot. Well, I guess a C because there's a romance plot going on. I don't know what. Okay, let's talk about the assassination plot. I don't know if that would be in my mind. That's B, but yeah. What are your thoughts on the way the assassination?
What's the A plot in your mind?
I think it's not a plot, but in my mind, when I think about this story, I think about this episode. It's the religious ceremonies, even though it's not a plot. It's just the setting, I guess, of the episode.
It's funny because I was trying to grok that myself because the closer was tied to that and the opener was tied to that, but none of the actual plot forwarding stuff was related to it at all.
Except for laying groundwork about potentially weird Minbari marriages.
Yes.
But I do think that's a really good point. But so this is something I felt in watching this episode and having read some of the stuff about JMS talking. There was some other scene. There's some scene that was either plucked out of this because they ran out of time and put into another scene, into another episode.
Yeah, and into a later episode. So we'll talk about that. Yeah, but yeah.
And so not to spoil anything, but this felt. When David and I used to write and we would break a story, we would put everything up on cards and a board on the wall. And then sometimes you just be like, oh yeah, this scene needs to go over here instead. Like pick it off and take it over here. And our dog used to wag her tail and knock things off. And she was usually right. We'd be like, you're right. That scene did not belong there. Thank you, Mika. It was great. But this felt to me like someone was like, either even after the writing and while they were in editorial, but there were moments when we left the, like the love scene or the dinner scene and like popped into some other back to me, the two stories was the love story, the Sinclair Catherine love story and the ambassador, the assassination attempt.
Assassination.
And it was all just laid on the bed of, like the medium that it was being grown in was the medium of the religious ceremonies. And I felt like it was interesting because themically, you can say we're looking at two people coming together, like, you know, the blossoming of love, or like a love story versus a death story. And I think that that's a really fun juxtaposition. But the cuts and the choices of when we went from one to the other felt really disjointed to me.
Yes, I agree.
I was like, why now? Why are we? I understand why you're cutting now, but like, this isn't leading. Like, I wanted the Lenny and Squiggy of it to go back to Laverne and Shirley, and you know, like there was always that setup line of like, well, I hope I'd never be that dumb. Hello, you know, and like Squiggy would run to the door. Like, it would just be like, I want a little more transition and through line through it. And I think that we've seen that in the past. And this felt a little bit like someone in editorial, or at some point they just decided cut, which knowing that then he did take a scene out of this wholesale and put it into another episode. I'm like, oh, maybe that was one of the ones that bridged that transition or bridged a gap that I felt.
That made,
I agree wholeheartedly. That's why in the episode at the end, I'm very confused right now, is because I was really looking for, like, most of the episodes so far, they've had some kind of overarching themic thing, or like he's riffing on this concept, or they're connected somehow. And yeah, I agree that the two stories have that in common, but the frame is completely different from that. Like, if you were going to put these two together, I would think it would go with connected to like make well, not Delenn Sinclair, because Sinclair's already in a plot, but like give Ivanova something to do, like Ivanova's whole thing with Garibaldi and the dad, like that would have worked well with this, I think. It dipped.
Oh yeah, I could have seen that.
Yeah, because again, that's like connection and history and but like tying it in with world religions. It's a good. They're independently. I enjoy each plot, even though I was really confused by what was happening with the love story, because I was like, oh right, it's the 90s. We just did this. Like, all good. Troy and Riker are going to hook up with Troy and or Riker or somebody else again. But you know, I kind of forgot. Nothing wrong with that. Again, it was in the 90s. Like, we don't really do that as much anymore. So I forgot that's just something that was done.
But they didn't feel connected, right? And I think also, like, the idea, we even had a death episode just a couple episodes ago that was much more related to religion and your soul going on and things like that. And so again, this felt like the backdrop of the religious ceremony. I loved it, and I loved that ending, and I loved that I was like slapped upside the head when I was trying to make a joke of it and being like, it's going to be Tennyson. And it was really beautiful. And it was a really beautiful testament to one of the things that I love about JMS is that he was so progressive. He is so progressive, and he still is. But like that at the time that he was making the show, he was actively making some very progressive choices and decisions. I mean, even to the fact that like we've all bemoaned losing our first officer, whose name is now already gone from me from the pilot that we all thought would get Takashima. And we lost Takashima. And, you know, love that he brought in an Asian American woman in the role of Catherine. Like, you know, okay, thank you for keeping in mind that we lost that representation for studio reasons or whatever. And so I do think that there's a really, there's this really beautiful underlying thing. I just wish that the themes had tied together more. Yeah.
Oh, I was going to say, just an interesting note again from his comments about Catherine. He made a point to not ever call her Kathy because he wanted her to be Catherine. He thought it was like it would make her seem stronger and more. He didn't want to like infantilize her in any way. Yeah, he wanted her to be like a strong, powerful woman. He's like maybe like I think he said sometimes Sinclair might call her Kath. But that's an intimacy thing. It's not Kathy. Nobody ever calls her Kathy. She's Catherine.
I love that too. Yeah. Also, though, the other thing was like the weird, the weird prospectors who were like, we need you to survey another planet, and guess what? We hit the mother lode. But they didn't sound like that. But they were just
they kind of did.
They did, and
that was kind of the feeling of them. Yeah,
they were so excited to tell her about the good news, and I was like, "Trap, run!" I like it. It was just so weird and not normal. Their behavior of like, "Oh, we can't wait to tell you that we've brought you money that if you didn't ask for or know about, and we didn't try to keep it from you."
No, you wouldn't. Yeah, exactly.
It was such a weird, and I was like, "It's tainted. It's dirty money."
Right.
Like. That's going to get out, and Sinclair's going to be like, where the hell did this come from? Like, what yes. And because she was like, it's a planet with nobody on it, so it's fine. You can mine the, I mean, that was the intent of what she was saying right before that. This planet can't support life, full of things you can mine. You won't be ruining anybody's livelihood or environment. Mm-hmm. And yet then suddenly they're like, you got a windfall. And I wanted them to be like, you remember the planet where we eradicated that species? Guess what?
Yeah.
I was like, who are these yuckleheads? Like, that was just really funny to me.
See,
and it didn't go anywhere.
No, because I was like, I'm waiting. The reason I was confused, I was waiting that whole plot for an obstacle to show up. There were no obstacles, which again, that's okay. If that's not the whole story, that's fine. Yeah. But when I'm looking for a self-contained plot, I'm like, there has to be an obstacle to their relationship. And these guys are like, here's all this money. I went to a slightly different place. I went to either now she's going to go to Sinclair and be like, hey, guess what? I can stay and he's going to get cold feet. Or she's going to go to Sinclair and be like, hey, I'm making a ton of money. I need to go and do more work. And then she has to. I thought it was going to be a wrench. It was not. It was nice, and it didn't do anything, and that's okay. I assume it's coming up later, but again, could be.
No, it's interesting.
It was they dangled something that didn't pay off in any way, and maybe it will in future episodes. And I truly don't remember, but they dangled something that I felt like didn't have any kind of payoff or reason. And then her going to him and saying, things are expensive on this. And then I wanted him to say, how could you afford Minbari wine or whatever?
Right,
and then
to explain it.
I just came into a windfall. Flarn. But they never got into it. And she's like, I just wanted someone to celebrate with me. And so this is okay. All right. I'm going to say it. My problem with this show in season 1, when I first started watching it, was the dialogue frustrated me. I was an actor at the time too. I was acting at the time, and I was frustrated by the dialogue because the simplest, like in improv, you're taught to just say the next simple thing. Don't try to be clever and come up with a whole thing of if you say something, I'm going to say something that seems completely out of left field because actually it connects back, but you won't know why. Just keep it simple. Right. Say the next logical thing. And I do the same when I'm writing dialogue. And I wanted him to say, you just said I wanted somebody to celebrate with. What are we celebrating?
Why?
And he didn't. He was like, but are you really here? And the argument was really this, again, like he said, an autobiographical argument that he wanted to see on screen. And maybe he and the person didn't, maybe this is exactly word for word what he said when he fought. But I don't think so. Because I think that they knew other things. Like, when you're talking to somebody, those other things, like what you're celebrating or not celebrating. And in this instance, we, the audience, had no idea if Sinclair knew. That's where I go, I don't believe the relationship yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Knowing that it's autobiographical relationship stuff does recontextualize. It makes me understand why I was like, this doesn't feel like a story. It's because it's not. Yeah. It's just real life, and real life is not a story. I like Catherine. I like the character a lot, and I am frankly happy that it worked out for now. I was really worried.
Happy that the girlfriend is not the other girlfriend.
Happy Carolyn's gone. I'm still gonna guess that Carolyn just was like, I'm not coming back to that show, thanks, because again, it feels very similar. But I was watching it, like the ship was leaving at the end, and I was like, is this her? Is she about to get hit by an asteroid and just suddenly die?
Oh, you're still waiting.
Yeah, I was waiting because I was like, something has to go wrong. Yeah. Nothing has. This has just been a slow, steady progression from, oh, we're kind of old flames, to, hey, maybe we'll try it again, to, hey, we're trying it again. Nothing ever went wrong. Again, I feel like I'm coming across being like, this show sucks, which I'm not. I just expected there to be conflict.
And that's, and that is, it's true. Like, I think that we are all steeped in the world of reality versus television and film. Like, yes, if we just filmed reality all the time, it would be boring. And so when we film reality television, we have to fake it anyway to make it interesting. Yeah. And so it's, I felt like I feel the same thing. I'm not bagging on it either. I just think that it's interesting knowing. Okay, so this is what's funny. Okay, so the feature that I wrote, that I told you that I wrote all these cathartic things in, that were literally word for word things that people have said to me in my life, it was very, very cathartic. It was a wonderful thing to write. I felt great writing it. Loved it. And when I had people read it at the time, they were like, "Cool, but nothing happens." Like, it's exactly this. And so, and in a way, like, I was like, yeah, nothing has to happen. This doesn't happen. This is just an exploration of people's relationships, and nothing has to happen. And that is true. And and I think in that sense, juxtaposing the just like very normal relationship story of it worked, it didn't work, should we try it again, against an assassination plot gives us our action. It gives us our fun. Like, watching Toth kick the shit out of Jakar because she kind of liked it. And he kind of liked it. I don't know what's going on there. And, so those are, in that sense, those are good things to put against each other.
Certainly. I feel like we haven't really talked about the assassination plot, which is funny. Because it's arguably the more for the plot that is more forwarded in the episode. It's just cool. That's it. Sometimes I feel like there are plots where I can go like, that was fun. I don't really have anything else to say. It was fun.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. It's literally not what I think of when I think about this episode. Yeah. Like, not even, Every time I've watched it, when this episode starts, I'm like, oh yeah, this is where that happens.
Right.
Because I think about
because the religion thing, I mean, ultimately, I think in the long term of it, again, this is him hiding his arc, like the long term of the Sinclair relationship, the long term of Sinclair and Delenn, what's happening there. And then like the religious stuff is like much more world building and much more like those are the things that are going to linger, which I think is why they why that stays with
ended
you.
with it.
But I thought I thought we were all right in the same place at the beginning. I was like, my first thought was like, wait, is he just fucking with him to tell him that he's going to, and I was like, no, he wouldn't give him 48 hours. Because if you want someone to be really fucked with, you want them to be worried about it for the rest of their life. Yeah. And if you can get through 48 hours, you're like, it didn't happen, I'm fine. So, so then I was like, no, I think he actually did send someone. And I knew it wasn't going to be Natoth. Not because I remembered her from the show necessarily at that point. I just... She was just so cool that
it was too obvious.
Yeah.
She walks in as he says it.
Yeah. But it was fun. It was fun. But my favorite part was him literally getting shot on Zoom and the Zoom person just being like
the grin on his face.
The grin on his face is great. I'm just like, here's like I can just imagine her face on Zoom. She's like, end call.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
There's a TikTok sound, I think, from a couple years ago where somebody goes, "Oh my God, he's dead! No!" And then they just move on. And I'm like, what? You were on a call with the fucking diplomatic council? They watched you get shot and they went, oh, sucks. I guess we got to get a new ambassador.
And he's the ambassador in Babble On 5. It's not like she's like, where are you in space? She's like, call up the authorities.
She knows exactly where
Call Garibaldi.
Call Garibaldi. Yep. Oh, but
my assumption is that she didn't actually see him get shot. She just he stopped talking and then he just, okay, I guess I'm going to hang up. I don't know. That's my assumption about what. Yeah.
Although obviously she was like, wait, what was when Natoth went in there and she looked at the video call and she was like, play last caller. Who's the last caller? And so she must have been like, hey, did you see anything? And she's like, huh? Oh,
he got shot.
Yeah, this guy walked in.
That's true.
It's so good.
Your face is exactly what he looked like, guys. It's so weird.
Much. He didn't need to do that. He didn't need to do any of that.
I know. It was so good. It was so good.
Fun episode, though. I mean, look, fun. It's fun. Whatever. We're getting into it still. I feel like they kind of front loaded some of the really like wow, cool stuff, and this one was good. I think the stuff I'm most interested in is cultural background being filled out. Whatever the fuck's going on with Delenn Sinclair, that's fucking cool. I don't know what happened with it. It's good. I like them. I'm excited for them. Delenn is one of my favorites. Londo's on notice on account of the genocide, even if he wasn't involved.
I was going to say that happened long ago.
I know.
That's ancient Centauri history.
I know. And listen, we joke about the Neanderthals. I know it's the same thing.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. It's whatever.
We don't have a ceremony celebrating their slaughter.
No, we do not.
So
no, this is true.
No,
we don't.
Yes.
But I did like that. I did like that Gus got you got Londo to say Mr. Garibaldi.
Mr. Garibaldi. Anytime he says that's a good episode. 10 out of 10.
That's right. That's right.
Yes. The one other thing I very much wanted to bring up, especially, as actors, you might find this interesting, that final scene, which is one of my, I love that scene where it's just like going through all of the religions on Earth. And his basic premise of this was like the dominant belief system on Earth is that we all respect each other's beliefs. That was what he was going for. But Michael O'Hare, the actor who plays Sinclair, I think he went through it once and then did it without, like, he memorized all of their names.
Oh my God.
And just had to do it. Yeah, he didn't have, and it was one take. And I think he only had to do it one time practicing and then did it one take. And part of the reason for that is because the actors, they weren't actors. They were actual people who practiced their religion. It was their actual names.
Wow.
For the majority of them. Yeah.
Wow.
So if he knew their names, he could just be like, and this person is. So JMS got the actual people who practice those religions to come in for that.
That's really cool.
Really cool.
That's a
really
lot
cool.
of names to memorize anyway.
Yeah.
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 And that is really neat.
It's pretty impressive.
He's a pro.
That is really neat.
Yeah.
And it was really I was just like, well, how far are we going to go? We're going to go Jewish, Christian, and Muslim, and we're done.
Nope.
And it was really, I thought it was, beautiful. And also that they cut on that. They faded out on that. So he was, the camera panned down and picked up lots more people, and that we didn't, there was no and that's it.
Yeah.
The implication of it's too many to count.
Yeah, somewhere in there, in those notes that I sent you, Jet, there's a number. It's 100 and something people that were in that shot.
That's
really
cool.
He got as many as he could possibly get for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think this is a good show. Hot take to say on a Babble On 5 podcast. I think it's pretty good.
Yeah. I think so too. So obviously I've watched it multiple times. And I think this one won an award. Did it win an Emmy? It might have won an Emmy for makeup.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah. It's the one where we got to see Jakar's torso.
Yes.
Yeah, a lot going on there.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot going on with the torso.
I'm a little embarrassed to say this, but Jakar has a little going on there.
You got a lot going on, man.
I was like, Jakar. I did not know. So now I'm the creepy one.
You're the creepy one?
Yes.
Jakar, I think, would be all right with that.
Jakar,
but yes, it was an Emmy. I just found that. Yeah.
Oh, wait.
And sorry, in my notes for this, it was an Emmy for makeup design. It also aired against the Tanya Harding Nancy Kerrigan showdown, so the ratings sucked for this episode.
Yeah, well, yeah.
I do actually know what I was watching that night, and that was
you were watching. Then no, it would not have been. No.
Oh my God!
I'm reading just the part of the Wikipedia page that doesn't have anything to do with relationship to later episodes.
Good.
I'm being very careful every time I say I looked online. Listeners they stream into my comments, start yelling at me.
I would too. You have to be very careful with Babble On 5.
Really careful. Believe me, I don't go on the Reddit. I don't go on. I don't touch it. I don't look at anything. Sometimes I might just look at the very beginning part of this. Apparently, the woman who played Natoth asked. They filmed her kicking the shit out of Jakar with a stunt double, and then she came in and was like, "Can we shoot it again with me kicking the shit out of him?"
Yes. That's
and
hilarious.
Then she accidentally kicked the camera.
Oh my God,
I missed that.
Awesome.
Brown got carried away during the sequences involving high kicks and accidentally kicked the camera. Andreas Katsoulis said, "She took it all on, and the prosthetics can be so disconcerting. She went with it." All right.
Yeah.
Cool, man.
That's hilarious.
I mean, you get into it.
I'll stop there. I'm very careful. Then I was like, that sentence was fine. I ran away. So
that's great.
Yes. Be very, very careful. Just I will say, even when you type in Babble On 5, the images that will come up will be a spoiler for you sometimes.
Don't worry. I don't look at any. I'm a veteran of the Wheel of Time. I know how to do this. I made it through. Wheel of Time MLs in.
Okay. Do you have any further? I think I brought up all the points that I wanted to bring up.
Nah, it's good. I don't know. I don't think this was fun. I like this more than Cockroach Vader with an arm cannon.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Good. I'm glad it cleared that bar.
Cockroach Vader with Iron Cannon, that's for sure.
Nice. The question I think I'm just going to make this just a regular question just because I'm, basically what this show is. What are you seeing in this episode that you think will continue?
I think a lot of these secondary characters are going to be recurrent. Obviously, Lennar, because you two...
Lanier.
Shit. Obviously, Lanier, because both of you started giggling when he showed up. He's going to be very important. The ongoing connection... Oh, Natoff, I hope. I mean, unless we're just going to kill the attaché every other episode. The stuff with Sinclair and Delenn, it's been important. It's going to continue to stay important. What else? Probably religion. I mean, JMS being JMS, from what I know about him so far, kind of trying to talk about everything all at once in a good way. I feel like religion and the interplay between religions will remain a major thematic element, or some element.
Just reading his autobiography, like I think, I will say, as a person who was watching this in the 90s and was very religious at the time, I remember this episode being like, oh, this isn't a show that is going to talk down to me. Like that was the feeling that, because I, as a big Star Trek fan who was at the time attending church, I often felt like Star Trek was mocking me, being like, you're stupid for believing anything.
Right, because anytime they went to a planet of dumb people who weren't enlightened yet, they had some religions, and they were like, well, that's fair.
Yeah. And then this episode, I very much remember watching it the first time being like, oh, okay, this show is going to let people like me at the time, I'm not religious anymore, but people like me at the time exist and not be seen as stupid. So that was a big thing. And having read his autobiography, I think he is not religious. Like he did make the atheist first, and he had him dressed very well as his whole, like, this is me. Like that was his self-insert thing. But he also spent a portion of his life living in a Christian religious commune.
Oh, wow.
So he has a breadth of experience. And so some of that, like, we'll be working through that, I think, as well. One thing I did mean to mention, just a writer thing, that he said he aimed for a certain trifecta in every episode. You saw this?
I did.
Yeah. I'm curious to know if you think he actually hit it. He tries to hit one big laugh, one emotional moment, and one, he called it a head conk moment, like a moment that makes you go, huh. Yeah.
Well,
go ahead, Gus.
I know what the big laugh moment for me was.
Which was?
Yes, that was
a big laugh moment. Yeah. Which I don't think was
I know the podcasters can't see me doing that.
Yes.
Exactly. I don't think that was the moment that he intended to be funny, but it was a funnier moment.
It was much funnier. I laughed out loud as well. And unfortunately, I did read that ahead of time. And so then I was like, waiting. Okay, so the thing that JMS was like, he talks about in this article, he talks about how he is not a big laugh out loud person. So he'll watch a comedy and people are like, you didn't like it? And he's like, no, I liked it. I was just listening. Like I didn't think it wasn't just because I'm not laughing out loud doesn't mean I don't think it's really funny. And so he's like, I know if I can make myself laugh, then I know it's going to make other people laugh because I'm not a laugher. And now what's funny is I make jokes all the time about how narcissistic I am about my writing, because there are times when I'm writing and I'm just like cracking myself up in my writing. And I'm like, what kind of like ego do I have that I'm laughing at myself while I'm writing? But I don't ever expect anybody else to laugh. And I don't think, I've written on a lot of comedy, but I don't think of myself as a funny person. So I don't think that I write funny things. And so he was like, I fell off my chair laughing so hard about Londo face planting on the table. And I was like, no. I didn't think he was that funny.
That moment to me, it's like, it's too broad. It's too broad for me.
I think we lost Gus.
I'm here. Hello.
Oh, you are. Okay, good. You're just present.
I was just nodding and smiling and enjoying
and not thinking that was particularly funny.
It's fine. It's kind of funny. It was a little bit like, oh, it's this scene. It's this bit. It's the drunk guy. I've seen this. And you can tell the actor was like, oh, it's this. Let me just deliver this pizza for you real quick. Do it exactly the way I've seen it done 500 times before. You did fine. It's funny. But I was like, that's your big moment?
with Delenn making faces of like, what is happening here? And then, and Sinclair being like, I'm out, I'm going to go see my ex booty call. And then Ivanova also being drunk on the end and enjoying it. It was really, it just hit all the tropes. And it also felt like a moment of like, these are the things I think are funny and I would like to see. So I'm going to put them all into this scene. And I was like, well, that's fine.
Okay.
But I did not find that a big laugh out loud.
A little slapstick. It wasn't dumb. Oh, it was dumb, but in a good way. It was good dumb.
In a good way.
It's like, it was dumb.
But I also love a show that doesn't always take itself too seriously. I mean, I remember not wanting to, having no desire to see Legally Blonde when it came out, like before Gus was born. And then, I'm sorry.
2001.
Got really indignant.
2001.
Okay.
I saw it. All right, Kevin.
Probably not when it came out. Did you?
I may have. I saw it pretty young.
But I didn't have a big desire to see. I was like, whatever. I don't need to see this movie. And I was taking a train across the country, and it was playing on the train. Like, and we spent it was a 3-night train and or 2-night train, and so they played it, and so we it was captive audience. I was so charmed by it, and I to this day call it a perfect movie. Like, it is exactly what it needs to be. It doesn't take itself too seriously. It is exactly what it needs to be. And it is just absolutely delicious and delightful and charming. And so I love a show that actually talks about every world religion on one hand, and on the other hand, does a really stupid joke about drunk celebrations. So, I'm fine with both of those things hand in hand.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah.
It's great.
I have the same feeling. When I read that was the moment that he thought was funny, I was like, oh, I would pick, like, even that moment, like with the shooting and the face. Okay, that moment is hilarious. The moment that I would have thought he wrote thinking, oh, this will be funny, is the line at the end with Jakar and Ada talking to the assassin going, you will know pain, you will, and then you will die. Have a nice trip. It's like, that was funny.
Enjoy your flight.
That was a funny line. Yeah.
And when Jakar and Toth are walking off arm in arm and laughing, and Sinclair's like, or Garibaldi, whoever was standing there as they walk by, and they're like, oh, I'm having a great time. Yeah. It was really, that was fun. That was funny. I really enjoyed that. Yeah.
By the way, that reminds me of another thing about why this episode felt structurally weird to me. And it was that the frame plot of the religion thing was a Sinclair plot. And the C plot, romance plot, was a Sinclair plot.
A Sinclair plot.
So I was like, what am I tracking from you right now? Am I tracking religion or am I tracking romance? They're kind of connected, but also like really weren't connected. This is just like two Sinclair plots. And at one point it faded from him in bed, and there was a pre-lap with Delenn. And then he was in that scene too. And I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah, I was like, where did our time jump go? Where are we? Is this tomorrow? What is this tonight? Did you just jump out of bed because you're like, shit, I'm supposed to be upstairs at this ceremony?
I'm supposed to be getting married by accident.
I was supposed to be upstairs at my wedding. Yeah.
And there were a number of characters that were like, okay, the religious characters at the end, obviously, like, not important characters in terms of story, in terms of ongoing story. Like, that's fine. But there was the guy that Garibaldi was talking to at the very beginning, when he was like, we got to do this thing, and we got to do this thing. And the guy was like, brr, 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 and then he left. And I was like, that's not an under 5. That's not even like, that's not even a glorified extra. Like, you just don't need to be in this scene at all. Like, go away. Like, why are you here? And then and then the prospectors, the same thing. I was just like, you guys are going to do something important, right? You're not. I mean, like, all we needed to see was her be like, wired money from this great job you did. Awesome. Thanks. Surprise. What? That much? We didn't need them.
We had time for Jakar to whistle while he works for like 3.5 minutes. Again, it was good. It's kind of like, this episode feels like they cut a whole plot out of it. And you mentioned that they cut a scene. So I imagine you want to get to Grey Council. We've been talking about this for quite a while. So
we should probably get to Grey Council.
I will skedaddle. And say thank you for your times, and I look forward to watching Allie watch this. I bet she'll come up with all kinds of stuff that I didn't even think about. So.
Sure, she'll come up with stuff that none of us thought of because she has Allie brain.
That's how she does.
Yes.
Bye. Have fun.
Bye.
Ah, my friends! You have reached the most dangerous part of our journey, the Grey Council. Here we speak of things that must not be spoken. Secrets, betrayals, spoilers. If you are not ready, turn back now. But if you dare to proceed, I promise you it will be magnificent. Oh, Mr. Garibaldi!
So I think, my guess, because obviously we know Sinclair was not supposed to leave.
Right.
I think that they were setting him and Catherine up to be like, the obstacle was eventually going to be Delenn. I think that's what.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like to their, like obviously, or Catherine would be the obstacle in Delenn and Sinclair.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I think that, so they were supposed to seem really happy and then things would change later.
I think that was very much, it was the like, hey, this doesn't have to be hard. I mean, and JMS has talked too about like how he, with his wife, they were there and then they were off and they were back. And so I think that sort of like the idea of we can be grown-ups about a relationship even if we aren't following the exact path people expect you to follow. And I think that was the idea, was like we were supposed to be really rooting for this, but there's something else going on with Delenn. And I was like, I had forgotten about this moment with Delenn and Sinclair because I was like, but Sheridan, and so
exactly. I know.
What's going on? I feel bad that I know everything's going to get derailed, and then I'm just like once again reminded that in a world when we create fake stories that don't actually mean things, and then especially if you're dealing with other people playing those parts, you are at the whim of the world, making choices and changes. So.
Yeah. This is going to be obviously conversation from much, much later on, obviously, but the Sheridan Delenn romance is probably one of my favorites just in general, like not just in Babylon 5. Obviously, there's not much romance in Babylon 5 at all. But when I think about it, I think, this explains, sorry for anybody who doesn't care about the Wheel of Time listening to this, but it explains one of my reasons for not enjoying most of Robert Jordan's romances is, I really hate enemies to lovers. I like, hey, we meet and we like each other and then we like each other more and then we realize we're in love and then we're in love. That's the story I like to watch.
Yeah.
But
it's honestly
nice. It's just nice.
It's nice, and it's also, I think, in some ways, a lot more believable. Like enemies to lovers is a fun gimme that shouldn't be a trope. It should be like have been done once, and everybody's like, remember that great movie? It happened one night, and like let it go at that.
Yeah.
But okay, they did it. Clark Gable did it with Claudette Colbert in 1929. 31 9. So anyway, somewhere in there, and which is actually playing at my local theater this weekend.
Ooh,
I'm so excited. At midnight though. It's at Tarantino's theater and he plays things at midnight. It's really, I'm too old.
That's irritating.
But in any case, it's so I agree. I feel like, and here's what's interesting though, and maybe it's just because I know where we're going with Sheridan and Delenn have chemistry. I don't see it with Sinclair. Like I haven't from the beginning.
I think they were trying.
I know they're trying. But and again, like while I'm I'm sad for the story for why Sinclair left the show and also of like what all of those reasons and then having to rewrite and change the story to make it fit with Sheridan. I am such a Sheridan fan. I'm such a Boxleitner fan. I was before I watched the show already too. And so and he's so charming, and he and Delenn, I think, have such great chemistry, and I'm excited. I can't wait to get there. But even the moment with Sheridan, like watching her and her watching him, and I was just like, I know you guys are literally either not on set at the same time, or even if you are, like across the room, I still just wasn't buying it. I didn't see it, and I haven't really seen it so far. Like I like their conversations about like, yes, we did whatever we did at the line to save you because we needed to save you, and there have been some interesting interactions between them. But I would say that they have not evoked chemistry in general.
Yeah. For me as well, I don't necessarily see, especially obviously comparing between Sheridan and Delenn, I don't see it.
Yeah.
I do wonder if that's a bit of me being blind because I know what happens.
Right.
So I'm just like, whatever. But I like trying to get into the head of what this was attempting to build. Obviously, Delenn knows who he is. Yeah. Right? Like Delenn knows. So she doesn't know. I don't think she knows that he's sorry. The thought, rewinding. She doesn't know that he's Valen.
Right.
But I don't think that JMS at this point knew that he was Valen, because at this point he's not supposed to be Valen.
Right.
So
right. Exactly.
So
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What she knows, like she knows that he, I guess, what would have been in the story at this point, that he has a Minbari soul.
Mm-hmm.
So that is what that's why she is choosing him. And then she says that line, like, and so it begins.
Right.
So,
right.
Yeah, that's like an ominous line. Like even Gus didn't even catch he just heard the "it begins." He didn't hear the "and so" part, which, yeah. But even he caught the "it begins" part. Like that line is ominous.
All right. Well, now I want to go back and read some Tennyson though, because I want to go back and I'm going to have to go back and watch the scene of specifically what Tennyson he was listening to, because I actually think it's relevant. I don't think it's random.
Oh, it might be.
Yeah, I think it is. I'll have to go back and check it. Because I think it is.
Oh, I'm curious. I don't. Yeah. I don't have that here.
Yeah, I think it is relevant. So that's interesting. Because that makes sense too. I mean, that's the thing, that it is holding that many balls in the air. I mean, I will bag on JMS's dialogue until the end of the series. So just buckle up for that, because I will. But and it gets better. But I will still bag on it. But I do like whatever. I don't care. Dialogue isn't his forte. What his forte is holding all the balls in the air of like all these different parts and pieces will come together in the end. And I'm just going to prop one up here, and I'm going to just lay one down here, and I'm going to like set up something that you think in this episode has no relevance or meaning, like Prospector Boys. I don't expect them to come back.
Yeah.
But maybe they do. I can't remember. So anyway, I don't think they do. But but he does. He so many things along the way that is, and that is such a masterful skill. And so, he can be less than my favorite in dialogue and still be one of my favorites.
Yes. I would say not only was that, I think, despite the fact he came into the story with a 5-year arc, and then so many things fell apart, Michael O'Hare having to leave and Lita not being able to. The story that he ended up with, I think, is actually stronger than the story he intended to tell. Yeah. So he had all these balls up in the air, and some of those balls got pulled away. Yeah. And he's like, okay, well, let me just build it again. And he built it better. Yeah. I think.
It's true though. It's not unlike, like building a house, something goes wrong and you've got to end up redoing it, and you realize I learned something along the way the first time that I can fix this time. And it's not, I just talked about this in my podcast with Meg and Rob last week on Three Wheeling. We were talking about the limitations of, money, time, resources, and as a preschool writer, the limitations that I'm put under, of like, you have to repeat something 3 times, or you have to say it like this, or you can't say it like that, or you can't have your characters do this thing that people naturally do because we don't want to, show behavior preschoolers might emulate. They're all good limitations that make me a better storyteller. And, the same thing with this show. Like, I don't, again, like that's kind of what I was saying before, I don't wish for what happened with Michael O'Hare. Like,
obviously
it's a
not.
sad, tragic story, but it also ended up creating some beautiful opportunities that wouldn't have happened in the show had he stayed and had the path stayed as it was. And it's like in Wheel of Time, as much as we absolutely loved Barney first season, what a blessing that we have Donald Finn now. And and
100%.
And that they were forced into, not painted themselves into corners, got painted into corners by situations and by circumstance, and then had to find a way to pick themselves out, which creates a creativity that wouldn't have been forced on them without that. So anyway, I think it's
exactly,
and I think JMS does a great job of capitalizing on monkey wrenches they get thrown in. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And if anybody listening who is curious about the original plan, I'm going to plug another podcast here called, I believe, Gray 17. They actually got their hands, JMS at one point sold script books from Babylon 5, and there was one that he sold that had the entire original plan for Babylon 5 and the show he had hoped to do afterwards. So it's like a 10-year show. Yeah. And they read through it on their podcast. You could literally, what was the original plan, Gray 17, you'll be able to find it there.
Great.
And
that's great.
It's, yeah, it's great. And but even as they're going through, it's amazing that he had this plan. I like what we got better. I like what we ended up with better than what his original plan was. Like infinitely better.
Yeah.
So I think that is also a strength of his to go, oh, okay, I have to completely rework things. Okay.
Yep.
And then
make some lemonade.
And about Catherine, I do know this. I have not read any of the associated novels that go along with Babylon 5. I know that they exist. Like there's maybe 3 or 4 of them. Apparently Catherine shows up in one of them and like time travels back to and like lives out her life with Sinclair as he's living as Valen among the Minbari.
Wow. Yeah. Oh, that's cool.
So they have a happy ending.
That's great. That's great.
Yes.
That's really, really great. I love that. Yeah. Yeah. I know. I mean, I wasn't bothered by their relationship. I was waiting for, because I've been trained by the 90s tropes, by the 80s tropes, by the 2000s tropes. I was waiting for the shoe to drop. You know, that's why I thought the prospectors were going to be like, remember when we illegally did this thing? You know, because that's how they talk on the show. I will stand by it. But, you know, I think that I was waiting for that thing, and I don't mind when it's not there. I really don't. I don't. Like I said, I want dialogue to be logical, but I don't mind when a story point is like, no, there was just guys who came by to say you got some money.
Yeah.
I mean, she could have done it a different way, but you know, I don't mind that their relationship unfolds slowly and without conflict. That's what I really don't mind. Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like that is probably the strongest, not strongest, that's the wrong word, but it's the clearest, oh, this story isn't over yet. Like that we've seen so far. Yeah. Well, maybe not, but it's like very much felt like, oh, that story's not finished. Like, obviously she's coming back, right? Like, I don't think anybody would watch this episode and think we're not going to see her again. Whereas you can watch another episode and there's like, are we going to see the assassin again? Probably not. Like nobody's thinking that we're going to see him again. Yeah. You know?
Yeah. That feels pretty wrapped up.
Yeah. Yeah. Pretty right. Exactly. Exactly.
I didn't take as good notes today. I was busy paying attention.
It's fine. The statues that Londo kissed.
Yes.
One of them we're going to see later. And it is we will get revelations about the Centauri anatomy. One of the things I think actually, Robert George, I keep wanting to say that, JMS did that was interesting, was make like the Narn look incredibly alien and the Centauri look like us, right? But Jakar has a fascination with Earth women, so and we saw the underwear, like you will never see a Narn have a relationship outside of their species. And at some point, we're going to learn a little bit about their anatomy that was actually present in that statue. They do not fit with us in any way, shape, or form. Not even a little bit. if you like, whenever I see that statue now, I'm like, oh, we shouldn't be showing that on television. That's
oh my God.
All their genitals are on display.
Hilarious.
All of them.
Hilarious. This is like, because they were statues of Centauri. Like they were Centauri people. Yes. Oh my God, that's great.
Yes.
Yeah, I can't wait. I can't wait.
That's a whole thing. And the interesting thing about going from that ridiculousness about Centauri genitals to Centauri lore.
Yes.
The story about the genocide is interesting to have that be told, especially in this lighthearted comedic way. Yeah. Because of, again, who the Centauri are and what they end up doing. Yeah. Like, oh, that's, yeah. Yeah, it's genocide in your history there.
Right.
Okay.
Right? I know. Yeah, it was very weird and interesting. Yeah. So now I got to go back and you have to go back and look at the statues while I'm listening to Tennyson. See if I can't.
I will just say they have 6. They have 6.
Okay,
that's
great.
The point.
I love it.
Yeah, and yeah. At one point, Veer is trying to get sex advice from Ivanova because he hasn't gone past 2, and he's like trying to explain it to her.
Oh
but
my
he's
God.
just like, and then you get to 3 and 4. Ivanova's just like, what the hell is happening? So yeah, no, they don't. Even though they look like us, they are
not like us.
No.
That's amazing. Oh my God. Okay, I can't wait. I love it. It was good. It was fun. It was a really fun one. I mean, I also don't mind having some fun, just relationship stuff going on. That was great to just sit back in that world for a while.
Yeah. And like I said, for me, it might be the reason why this episode, it sticks out in my memory so much, is it's one of the few that I very much remember the first time I saw it, of going, oh, religious people can exist in this world.
Yeah.
Neat. Yeah. Like, and JMS, not Robert Jordan Jetty, JMS. Like, he never once, throughout, like, the respect with which he handles and deals with religion in the show, I feel is comparing it to, for example, Firefly, bringing up Firefly again. Firefly, every time Book speaks in Firefly, I'm like, oh, that's an atheist trying to write what a Christian says. Like an atheist is trying to explain, like, and he has no comprehension at all. Like every time Book spoke, I'm like, no, like I don't know who. No, he's not a Christian. Like that's and like I'm not even religious anymore. But every time I'm like, no, that's not how Christians talk or think or anything. What the hell are you talking about? And yet, and in Babylon 5, I'm like, oh no, he knows. He knows what people like. It comes across as authentic and real. Yeah, and it's not like he's endorsing it, but it's like he's
just endorsing to each their own.
Yeah,
you know. Yeah, in a really beautiful way. Yeah, I mean that's true. Like there are so many undertones like that. The genocide happens for racial reasons, species reasons, in this world, but also like in our world, it happens for religious reasons. And him making a statement about genocide not being okay, and obviously, but at the same time, I'm talking about religious tolerance. I think is what he's just like laying down here in a really beautiful way.
Okay. Well, I think that's it for us today.
All right.
So, yeah. Thank you, for joining us. And yeah, you can get more of us wherever. I'm horrible at outros. I don't know what to do for the outro. Hopefully we'll have like a Patreon set up by this point, so you can check that out.
You'll be able to click on links that say where you can, you'll be listening to our podcast, but you can listen to this podcast wherever you find your podcasts.
Yeah.
Check our YouTube out with the watching of it.
Yeah, follow, like, we have a reaction that'll be up. And like I said, if you have a Patreon, you'll have a full unedited version of it there. And that's it. I think that's it. I'm terrible at this. But I hope you enjoy it, even though I'm not good at this part. So, come back and join us again for the next episode. Ooh, I don't know what it is. Hold on. Let me see what the next episode is. Mind War.
Oh.
Mind War. Okay. That's my thoughts on Mind War. I think, okay, am I right? I think that might be our first, I think it is Walter Koenig showing up for the first time.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
I think you are right.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Okay.
Which will be exciting that'll be exciting for Gus.
Gus will really appreciate it. Yep, it is. It is. It is. Yay! Yes. All right, we'll see you next week, Walt.
All right. Yes. Walt, oh Lord. All right, we'll look forward to that. And thanks for joining us.
Bye.